As depth increases, the deep ocean no longer feels like a place but a condition, a state that exists independent of geography. It is not somewhere you visit. It is something you are subjected to. The farther down you go, the more the environment dictates every outcome. Heat disappears, cold becomes constant. Pressure defines possibility. Choice vanishes. The ocean does not react to human presence. It absorbs it. This is a fundamental difference between ocean and space. Space is indifferent because it is empty. The deep ocean is indifferent because it is full and functioning without us. Life there is not waiting to be discovered. It does not depend on human observation. It does not adapt to human limits. It simply continues. Many deep-sea organisms live entire lifespans without ever encountering another creature outside their species. Some may never encounter light beyond their own bioluminescence. Their world is defined by darkness, pressure, and chemical gradients rather than visual distance. Predation is slow. Movement is deliberate. Energy is conserved. This slowness contrasts violently with human panic. Where humans react quickly and emotionally, the deep ocean rewards patience and efficiency. This mismatch creates psychological discomfort. Humans are not built for stillness under pressure. We are built for action and visibility. The ocean provides neither. Another unsettling detail is how little of the deep ocean has been visually documented. Our understanding relies on brief glimpses recorded by cameras attached to robotic vehicles. Even these cameras illuminate only a few meters ahead before darkness consumes everything else. Every image we capture is surrounded by an overwhelming unknown. What exists just beyond the frame is rarely seen and never confirmed. This creates a mental imbalance. Humans are uncomfortable with incomplete information. The deep ocean offers nothing but incomplete information. Even mapping the ocean floor is slow and difficult. Radar and satellites cannot penetrate water deeply, forcing scientists to rely on sonar and indirect measurements. These methods create representations, not photographs. Large sections of the ocean floor are known only as rough outlines. Valleys, ridges, and trenches are inferred rather than seen. What exists in those spaces remains largely speculative. This uncertainty feeds fear. Not fear of monsters, but fear of ignorance. Humans equate knowledge with control. The deep ocean denies both. There are areas so deep and remote that reaching them requires years of planning and immense cost. These regions may be visited once, if at all. Any data collected may never be replicated. In science, replication is essential for certainty. In the deep ocean, replication is often impossible. This limits understanding and reinforces mystery. Another reason the deep ocean feels more unsettling than space is its permanence. Space feels vast but temporary. Space exploration occurs against a backdrop of movement and expansion. The ocean feels static, ancient, and unchanging. Some deep-sea environments have remained stable for millions of years. They existed before humans evolved and will likely persist long after. This longevity dwarfs human timescales. It reminds us of how brief and fragile our existence is. The ocean also contains biological strategies that defy intuition. Some deep-sea creatures live for centuries. Others function with metabolism so slow they barely register as alive by human standards. There are organisms that can survive extreme pressure changes, toxic chemicals, and near-zero temperatures simultaneously. These adaptations stretch the definition of life. They suggest that human biology represents only a narrow slice of possible survival strategies. This realization is humbling. It implies that life is not rare, but humans are specialized. Our comfort zone is narrow. The deep ocean exists entirely outside it. The comparison to space becomes unavoidable here. In space, humans survive by recreating Earth-like conditions. We build sealed habitats, regulate pressure, supply oxygen, manage temperature. In the deep ocean, even recreating such conditions becomes extraordinarily difficult because pressure cannot simply be excluded. It must be resisted constantly. The environment pushes inward endlessly. Every structure becomes a barrier between existence and collapse. Tiny errors compound instantly. There is no gradual failure, there is only functioning or annihilation. This lack of margin creates existential fear. Humans prefer threats that escalate gradually. The deep ocean escalates invisibly until limits are crossed. When limits are crossed, there is no recovery. This reality influences how humans emotionally categorize danger. Space inspires awe and curiosity. The ocean inspires caution and avoidance. Despite covering most of the planet, the deep ocean remains psychologically distant. We know it exists, but we rarely engage with it directly. It is easier to imagine distant planets than nearby depths that deny us entirely. This psychological distancing protects us from constant awareness of vulnerability. But when attention is forced downward, discomfort emerges. Another factor is soundlessness. While the ocean is not truly silent, sound at depth feels muted and distant. Vibrations travel, but sources remain hidden. This creates a sense of presence without form. In evolutionary terms, presence without visibility triggers alarm. The brain demands resolution. The ocean offers none. This unresolved awareness is exhausting. It is one reason long-term exposure to deep-sea environments produces mental strain, even in trained professionals. The deep ocean also reminds us of dependence. Humans rely on the ocean for climate regulation, food systems, oxygen production, and carbon absorption. Much of the oxygen we breathe originates from microscopic life in the ocean. Much of the heat balance that allows civilization to exist depends on ocean circulation. We benefit from systems we barely understand and cannot control. This imbalance creates unease. It suggests vulnerability at a planetary scale. If deep ocean processes change, human life changes. And we may not notice until the effects are irreversible. This reinforces the sense that the ocean operates beyond human timelines and priorities. Perhaps the deepest fear comes from identity. Humans define themselves as explorers, builders, and conquerors of environments. The deep ocean resists this narrative. We have not conquered it. We cannot inhabit it. We cannot fully observe it. It does not bend to human ambition. It reminds us that mastery has limits, that some environments do not yield. This challenges deeply held assumptions about progress and control. The ocean is not humanity's enemy, but it is not humanity's domain. It is a parallel world coexisting with our own, rarely intersecting and never welcoming. When people say the deep ocean is scarier than space, they are not speaking about creatures or myths. They are reacting to the realization that the greatest unknown on Earth is not far away. It surrounds us, it supports us, and it excludes us entirely. Space offers distance and clarity. The deep ocean offers closeness and concealment. Space feels like a challenge. The deep ocean feels like a boundary. And boundaries are unsettling because they remind us where exploration ends. The most alien environment known to humanity is not above our heads among the stars. It is beneath our feet, silent under immense pressure, untouched by light, indifferent to our existence, and always there. Space scares us because it feels empty, distant, and unforgiving. But the deep ocean is far more unsettling because it is close, heavy, and full of life that evolved without us in mind. Space lacks air, pressure, and gravity. Yet the deep ocean overwhelms the human body with crushing force, complete darkness, freezing cold, and isolation all at once. We have a surprisingly detailed understanding of what happens to the human body in space. We know how vacuum affects tissue, how radiation damages cells, how temperature behaves in near emptiness. The deep ocean, however, follows rules that actively reject our biology. Every 10 meters you descend underwater adds another atmosphere of pressure, and this pressure builds relentlessly. At shallow depths, the body adapts. At moderate depths, breathing becomes difficult. At greater depths, physical structure itself becomes the problem. Airspaces compress, blood circulation shifts, oxygen behaves unpredictably. At 1,000 meters, no unprotected human body can survive. At the deepest known point on Earth, the Challenger Deep, pressure exceeds 1,000 atmospheres. The human body would not fight, panic, or slowly fail. It would lose integrity almost instantly. What makes this horrifying is how close this environment is. This is not a distant planet or far-off abyss. This is directly beneath coastlines, shipping routes, and beaches where humans live ordinary lives. The surface of the ocean hides one of the most hostile environments on Earth. Sunlight disappears faster than intuition suggests. At roughly 200 meters, sunlight no longer penetrates. Below that point, the ocean enters permanent night. There are no shadows from clouds, no sense of time passing, no visual horizon. Human vision evolved to rely on distant reference points, but in the deep ocean, distance becomes meaningless. The brain begins to struggle with orientation. Direction loses clarity. Time feels stretched or compressed, and yet life thrives here. Deep-sea organisms appear disturbing not because they are aggressive, but because they evolved under conditions that break human expectations. Some species have transparent heads to capture minimal light. Others have no eyes because vision provides no advantage in total darkness. Many creatures generate their own light through bioluminescence, producing flashes and glows used for hunting, communication, or deception. In the deep ocean, light is never aesthetic. It is functional. Every flash is intentional. These organisms evolved in isolation for millions of years, adapting to pressure levels that would pulverize human tissue. Scientists believe the deep ocean may contain the largest ecosystem on Earth, yet we have observed only a fraction of it. Beneath the surface lie underwater mountain ranges longer than any on land, trenches deeper than anything humans have physically excavated, and volcanoes that erupt constantly without ever breaking the surface. Hydrothermal vents release superheated water rich in minerals from Earth's crust, supporting ecosystems that rely entirely on chemical energy. These life forms do not need sunlight. They exist independently from the surface world. This discovery forced scientists to reconsider what life requires to exist and expanded the definition of habitability beyond Earth-like conditions. Paradoxically, the deep ocean may resemble alien worlds more closely than space itself. Exploring it is extraordinarily difficult. Spacecraft are built for controlled environments. Communication is reliable. Systems operate within predictable limits. In the deep ocean, pressure destroys electronics. Salt water corrodes materials continuously, currents shift unpredictably, and visibility remains extremely limited regardless of lighting strength. Submersibles must be engineered with near-perfect structural integrity. Even microscopic weaknesses can result in catastrophic implosion within milliseconds. When something goes wrong at depth, rescue is impossible. There is no external assistance, no second attempt. Often there is no debris. This is why more than 80% of the ocean floor remains unmapped in high resolution. We know less about large sections of our own planet than we do about nearby moons. The psychological weight of the deep ocean intensifies its fear. Humans evolved to survive on land. Our senses depend on air, light, and stable horizons. In deep water, vision degrades rapidly, hearing behaves unpredictably, and movement becomes inefficient. The brain interprets this sensory loss as vulnerability. Divers often describe an overwhelming sensation that something massive is nearby, even when nothing is visible. This is not imagination. It is pattern recognition without sufficient data. In water, large objects can move silently, remaining unseen until dangerously close. In space, threats approach visibly. In the ocean, danger exists in blind spots. The ocean also has a way of erasing evidence in a manner space does not. Ships vanish, aircraft disappear, entire structures are swallowed beneath the surface and slowly dismantled by corrosion, pressure, and time. Some wrecks are preserved perfectly for decades by cold, darkness, and low oxygen, frozen in place like time capsules. Others break apart completely, scattered and unrecognizable across the seabed. Unlike space, where debris remains visible and predictable, the ocean absorbs and conceals. This concealment feeds uncertainty. We do not know how many human artifacts lie undiscovered on the ocean floor, nor what condition they are in. The deep ocean does not return what it takes. It keeps it. Sound behaves differently underwater than it does in air, and this adds to the fear. Sound travels faster and farther underwater, but direction becomes difficult to identify. Low-frequency sounds can cross entire ocean basins without revealing their source. Scientists have recorded mysterious signals from the deep ocean that were detected thousands of kilometers away. Some were later identified as ice cracking, underwater landslides, or geological activity. Others remain unexplained. One of the most famous sounds ever recorded was so powerful it was picked up by sensors across the Pacific Ocean. The source was never clearly identified. Eventually, monitoring ended, not because the sound stopped, but because listening was expensive. The ocean did not go silent. We simply stopped paying attention. Psychological fear intensifies in environments where the brain lacks certainty. The deep ocean removes most cues the human mind relies on. There is no stable frame of reference, no predictable horizon, and no clear separation between space and threat. In open water, depth perception collapses. Objects appear closer or farther than they are. Movement becomes distorted. Shadows behave unnaturally. The mind attempts to compensate by imagining forms in motion. This is not weakness, it is survival. The human brain would rather assume presence than risk ignoring danger. This is why the sensation of being watched is commonly reported in deep water. Not because something is always there, but because the brain is functioning as designed. The absence of information is itself perceived as a threat. In space, isolation is visible. You can see emptiness. In the deep ocean, isolation is invisible. You are surrounded by mass, pressure, and unseen depth. The ocean feels crowded despite appearing empty. This contradiction is deeply unsettling to the human mind. There are also zones in the ocean where conditions change abruptly. Thermoclines create sharp temperature differences. Haloclines separate bodies of water with different salt concentrations. Entering these layers feels like passing through invisible walls. Visibility warps. Sound behaves differently. The environment feels distorted. These physical boundaries reinforce the sensation that the ocean is layered, hiding deeper and more dangerous levels below. As depth increases, human physiology begins to behave unpredictably, even with protection. Nitrogen dissolves into tissues, altering cognition. Judgment deteriorates. Time perception shifts. Reaction speed declines. These effects occur even before pressure becomes lethal. This is why deep sea diving is so tightly controlled. Even minor errors become fatal at depth. The ocean allows no margin for improvisation. The deep ocean also challenges human technology. Materials behave differently under extreme pressure. Metals compress. Glass thickens to extreme dimensions. Mechanical systems must function flawlessly in environments that punish movement. A single failure point can trigger total collapse. Submersibles designed to reach great depths resemble armored capsules more than vehicles. Even then, they are vulnerable. Because of this, exploration occurs slowly and infrequently. Each mission requires massive resources. Months of planning yield hours of observation. Unlike space exploration, which benefits from reusable infrastructure, deep-sea exploration starts nearly from scratch each time. This limits knowledge accumulation. The deep ocean controls Earth in subtle but powerful ways. Massive currents circulate heat and nutrients across the globe. These systems operate slowly, sometimes over hundreds or thousands of years. Water that sinks into the deep ocean may not resurface within a human lifetime. This means changes in the deep ocean unfold on timescales humans struggle to perceive. Climate stability relies on processes we barely monitor. Tiny disruptions in these systems can cascade into global consequences. The ocean also stores vast amounts of carbon, acting as a buffer against atmospheric change. How much it can absorb, and for how long, remains an open question. The deep ocean is not static. It shifts, flows, and reshapes itself constantly, independent of human observation. This lack of control adds to its fear. Humans understand environments by dominating them. The deep ocean resists dominance. It does not allow permanent presence. It does not tolerate mistakes. It forces humans to retreat after brief visits. Every descent carries risk. Every ascent carries uncertainty. This is why space feels safer by comparison. Space operates by rules we can calculate and predict. The deep ocean operates by rules that change with depth, location, and time. And then there is time itself. In the deep ocean, time behaves differently. Without sunlight, circadian rhythms lose meaning. Biological clocks desynchronize. Life adapts to rhythms driven by pressure, currents, and chemistry rather than day and night. Humans, dependent on cycles of light and darkness, lose anchoring cues. In such environments, the passage of time becomes abstract. Minutes can feel like hours. Hours can disappear entirely. Isolation deepens. Awareness turns inward. The ocean amplifies introspection in ways that are mentally exhausting. Even experienced explorers report claustrophobia, anxiety, and psychological strain. Not because of fear of death, but because of awareness of fragility. Knowing that a few centimeters of metal separate conscious life from obliteration changes perception. The deep ocean does not threaten loudly. It threatens silently. This silence is not emptiness. It is pressure waiting to be released. And unlike space, which allows survival with distance and technology, the ocean demands submission to its conditions before it allows entry. And as always, I will see you guys in the next episode of Explainify. Stay safe out there.